Hey, it's great to have you here for this episode. Today we're diving into a really fundamental question. How is income distributed in an economy, and why does that matter for social welfare and economic stability?
Yeah, it's one of those topics that's both timeless and incredibly relevant. Income distribution shapes so much. Consumption patterns, employment, class dynamics, and ultimately, how well society functions. We're going to explore 4 major theories of income distribution: Ricardo, Kalecki, Kaldor, and Marx, and look at their implications for welfare. A lot of this draws on Kaldor's seminal 1955 paper, which really shaped modern thinking.
Exactly. Understanding these theories helps us get to the roots of inequality and also informs policies aimed at promoting more equitable growth. So let's start by unpacking the relationship between income distribution and social welfare.
Right. Income distribution isn't just about who gets what slice of the pie. It directly affects social welfare by influencing consumption, investment, and economic stability. Ricardo and Marx, for example, pointed out that skewed income distribution deepens inequality and harms workers' welfare.
Yeah, and the neoclassical approach tries to link income shares to marginal productivity, but it often overlooks structural inequalities and market imperfections that persist in real economies. I care.
That's where Kalecki's perspective is really insightful. He highlights how monopoly power distorts profit shares, reducing labor's share and overall welfare. So it's not just about productivity, but also about market power.
And then Kaldor and the Keynesians argue that more equitable income distribution actually boosts demand, investment, and economic stability. It's a virtuous cycle when income is shared more fairly.
Absolutely. This ties into the concept of a social welfare function, like the Bergson-Samuelson framework, which captures society's collective preferences over both total income and how it's distributed.
Empirical work by economists like Atkinson, Sen, and Stiglitz shows that more equal income distributions generally enhance social welfare, especially in simplified single-good economies. But it's not just about equality for equality's sake.
Right, Rawls. Theory of justice adds an important dimension by prioritizing the welfare of the least advantaged, rejecting simple utility summation as a fair social welfare measure. So welfare depends not only on total output, but also on how purchasing power is distributed, which affects living standards.
And there's this interesting balance. Equal distribution maximizes expected utility under diminishing marginal returns to income, but moderate inequality is necessary to maintain incentives and productivity.
That's a great point. And speaking of measuring inequality and welfare, Anthony Atkinson's framework from the 1970s really formalizes this. He linked social welfare judgments explicitly to income data and introduced a parameter representing society's aversion to inequality.
Yeah, the idea is that the marginal utility of income is higher for the poor than the rich. So transferring income from the rich to the poor increases total social utility, up to the point where incomes equalize at the mean.
And that parameter, often called E, acts like a dislike meter for inequality. The higher it is, the more society dislikes inequality. So redistribution can increase social welfare, but how much depends on how much inequality society is willing to tolerate.
It's a neat way to formalize what many intuitively feel about fairness and welfare.
So with that foundation, let's move into the 4 main theories of distribution, starting with Ricardo's theory, which is really the classical starting point.
Right. Ricardo developed his theory in the early 19th century, focusing on a simplified economy producing a single commodity, corn, with 3 classes: capitalists, workers, and landlords.
The assumptions are quite stylized. Agriculture is the only industry, labor is variable, land is fixed, and the law of diminishing returns applies to both labor and land.
2 key principles stand out. The marginal principle, which explains rent as the difference between total and marginal productivity of land, and the surplus principle, which explains profits as the residue after paying wages and rent.
So income divides into rent for landlords, wages for workers, and profits for capitalists. Capital accumulation initially raises wages above subsistence, but population growth and cultivation of inferior land increase rent, squeezing profits and wages back to subsistence,
leading to a stationary state with 0 profits. It's a powerful model showing the tension between growth, distribution, and the limits imposed by fixed resources.
Though it's highly stylized and ignores industrial complexity, it sets the stage for later theories.
Moving on to Kalecki, his 1938 theory brings monopoly power into the picture. He assumes national income divides into wages, manual labor only, and profits, which include managerial salaries.
He introduces the degree of monopoly, mu, defined as the markup of price over marginal cost. Kalecki shows that the relative share of capitalist income in total turnover approximates the average degree of monopoly in the economy.
So, the higher the monopoly power, the larger the capitalist share, and the smaller the wage share. This links market structure directly to income distribution.
Exactly. It highlights how monopoly power can distort shares away from labor. The wage share is inversely related to monopoly power, meaning stronger monopolies reduce labor's share.
It's a neat bridge between microeconomic market power and macroeconomic income distribution. Though Kalecki's model simplifies labor income to manual wages and assumes below full employment.
Right, so it's not the full picture, but adds an important dimension. Now, Kaldor's theory builds on Keynesian ideas and focuses on the saving investment mechanism to determine income shares.
Kaldor divides income into wages and profits, with different marginal propensities to save. Capitalists save more than workers. The key identity is that total savings equal investment, split between workers and capitalists.
The profit share depends on the ratio of investment to output and the difference in saving propensities. Simplified, profit share increases with economic growth rate and capital intensity, and decreases with workers' saving propensity.
So, faster growth and higher capital requirements raise profits, while workers' low savings mean more income must go to capitalists to finance investment. It links distribution directly to growth dynamics and saving behavior.
Though it assumes a constant capital coefficient and ignores labor market complexities, it's a powerful framework connecting distribution and growth.
Finally, Marx's theory centers on surplus value, exploitation, and the value of labor power. Income divides into constant capital, variable capital, and surplus value.
Surplus value is the excess output produced by labor over the value of labor power, which capitalists appropriate as profit. The rate of surplus value measures exploitation, and the rate of profit depends inversely on the organic composition of capital.
Marx rejects the law of diminishing returns and classical rent-profit distinctions, emphasizing that capitalists extract surplus value through ownership of production means, exploiting labor.
He predicts falling profit rates, immiseration of workers, and crises due to capitalism's contradictions. But many of these predictions haven't materialized. Real wages have risen, and capitalism hasn't collapsed.
Plus, the labor theory of value remains debated. Still, Marx's focus on exploitation and surplus value adds a critical perspective on income distribution.
So with these theories in mind, what about policy? How do these insights translate into real-world actions?
Well, wage share stability and full employment policies are crucial to avoid the stationary state Ricardo warned about. Progressive taxation can protect real wages and reduce excessive profit concentration.
State intervention is needed to prevent stagnation and support investment cycles, as Kaldor and Kalecki suggest. Labor market regulation and managing the reserve army of labor can influence wage shares and employment.
Redistribution policies can counteract profit concentration and monopoly power, promoting equity and growth. Addressing monopoly power through antitrust and regulation can improve labor's share and social welfare.
Stimulating consumption, especially among workers who have higher marginal propensities to consume, supports demand-led growth. Limiting rentier income through land reforms and capital taxes can reduce unearned income and inequality.
And aligning technological change with labor inclusion is essential to avoid exacerbating inequality. It's a complex balancing act.
Definitely. So, to wrap up, these theories, Ricardo's focus on land and labor, Kalecki's monopoly power, Kaldor's saving investment dynamics, and Marx's exploitation, each add a layer to our understanding of income distribution and its welfare implications.
And they remind us that distribution isn't just about fairness. It's deeply tied to economic stability, growth, and social welfare. Policies informed by these insights can help create more equitable and resilient economies.
Thanks for joining this deep dive. Hopefully it gives you a richer perspective on the forces shaping income distribution and why it matters so much.